All right, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is. Hello, my name's Tim Galbraith. This is the hashtag Flint show. This is our inaugural studio show. We're going to have a lot of topics and segments pertaining to Flint coming up in the future. But today we're going to get into a couple issues that have been in the news locally lately. Before we do that, though, I want to introduce a couple of friends of mine working with me on this show. To my left is Sean McIntyre.
Hello.
And in the booth, our producer, who you cannot see off camera, is John Wilson.
Yep, how you doing?
Yeah, that's John. So they are, besides friends of mine, they are concerned citizens. So I think they'll have some valuable insight to these issues, and we'll just see as we go along. So let's not pretend this is polished and rehearsed. Let's just get into the first thing that caught my eye that I found interesting. There was an article on MLive by Jiquanda Johnson, August 29th, titled "Flint's Housing Market is Not So Healthy," study says. She cited a study conducted by WalletHub, which found that Flint, out of 300 cities, was dead last. And then she cited Flint Area Association of Realtors President Chris Theodoroff, who said it's just slow. I would never say it's unhealthy. Perception is part of the biggest problem. You have the perception of poor water, lack of police and firefighters, and high crime. All of that is not true, yet some of it is true. Now, before I go any further and get into this with you guys and ask you about it, I've been promising in some promotions that we would put feckless sphincter balloons on blast. Now, feckless, it says here, according to dictionary.com, is an ineffective or incompetent or futile person. And you know, I'm not saying really the show's MO is to go out of the way to find these people, but I feel like we should call attention to them when we can. I can understand Chris Theodoroff kind of giving a little bit of a PR move here for the city, but it's asinine. I think that his comment that you have the perception of poor water, the perception of lack of police and firefighters, the perception of high crime, which he says all of that is not true yet, some of it is true, is ridiculous, and it's offensive to the citizens who actually deal with brown water, a lack of public safety offers.
We're bring the race of the water into this, man. We've only just started. Really, you're already calling out brown water at this point?
Do you have brown water?
No, it's very Asian, actually.
It's Asian water.
Very, yeah. If you want to get racial about it.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of has a yellow hue to it, only at certain times during the day.
Okay.
And it smells really. It smells like detergent sometimes, and then
so
other
it's
times
clean.
It smells like ammonia. So I'm not sure if it's urine. I mean, if it truly is urine or what.
Yeah.
If they're cleaning it with urine, I understand that urine is a cleansing agent. So maybe they ran out of chemicals and they just all pissed in the big vat there.
Yeah. What about you? You have, what's your water like?
It's like pretty much what he said. Actually today when I was washing my dog's water bowl, and I noticed it's a white bowl, so I was pouring the water, and I could actually see the discoloration. How about using the word discoloration? It's really discolored, devoid all the racial connotations. But it's like, I mean, it varies from to like real muddy to like kind of a yellow hue. But anyway, it was kind of a yellowish hue today, so it's like But I don't use that. I just use it to wash it out with, and I use bottled water or filter water, and that's what I do. I boil water, pour it into it after it's cooled down, pour it into a pure filter. I get the pure filters for $20 for 4 of them through Amazon. The picture I got. That's the way I approach it. I don't like all those extra jugs laying around the house, and when I have to drink water, I may drink that or the bottled water. So I mean, it's like, but I think it's like I think it's something you got to look at. Is the city is so old and the infrastructure so deteriorating. I mean. That is just part of that. I do think they are treating it at the plant pretty decently, but when it gets through the pipes, it's going to get tainted once again.
How do you guys use it at your house?
The water, we bathe in it, we wash our clothes in it. The last couple weeks, actually pretty much when I heard about the lead situation, it started freaking me out because apparently the lead concentrates when you boil it, so I was boiling noodles with it. Stopped doing that a couple weeks ago. It's kind of a pain in the ass because we only use bottled, and I buy bottles because it's the absolute cheapest in town at Aldi. You can get a 24 pack for $2 right now. So we just have 6-7 cases in case the zombie apocalypse happens or the water goes bad in Flint. That's kind of, but yeah, so we do bathe in it. We encourage the kids not to open their eyes and drink it.
Well, I also, there's an article here from Metro Times by Kurt Guyette, and he talks about this is making the news right now, the Virginia Tech study that found that basically the city's methodology for testing the water is pretty faulty, and their representation of it is inaccurate. And they had close to 300 homes participate in the study, and you were one of them,
yeah,
right?
John, did you get this? We have a friend of ours is doing this, and so she got us bottles. Did you get bottles for that?
No, I didn't do that.
Okay.
I heard about it, but I wasn't aware of how to go about getting that part of that. No.
Oh, I know that we were bottles number 243, so there was at least 242 people ahead of us. And it was kind of a pain in the ass because you have to let the water sit for at least 6 hours. So we had to go to bed, wake up, not let the kids use the bathroom in the middle of the night, not turn on the water, get up after 6 hours, and then take samples from it right then. Haven't heard back from them. It's been a week and a half now, so they said they would email us. But after reading the study, dude, that was freaking me out because the 50 that they did, half of them were 50% of them were 5 parts per million, and like 70% of those 50, or is that right? No, 30% of those 50 were
I think
over
there's
15. That's crazy,
like
dude. That's
twice the threshold, right?
Yeah, that's like birth defect time. And you wonder why there's so many people that aren't quite right here in the city of Flint. They've been drinking the water.
It says Professor Edwards of Virginia Tech says there are a disturbingly high number of homes with lead levels in a range where water consumption has caused lead poisoning in children and adverse pregnancy outcomes. So it's pretty serious. Adverse. Which could be very broad.
All right. So are we making mutants now? I mean, are they going to be able to fly? Is they going to join Professor X or something?
Yeah, it's alarming. Lead is something that's like you can feel I guess you can feel the effects immediately. You know, I mean, it's like you can see diminished capacity.
Right, you
and
start
stuff.
to see in your eyes. Don't your eyes turn kind of an odd color? The whites of them start to turn an odd color.
That could because it's a metal. I know that it happens with silver, like colloidal silver. People overuse that will turn blue, and you can see that in their skin and in their eyes.
Right.
So it makes sense. It's a heavy metal. It's the heaviest of the metals. So that would make sense. The heaviest.
Your description of how it was kind of a pain because you couldn't flush the toilet and whatnot overnight is interesting because the guidelines they gave you in order to participate in that study are much different. And that's one of the concerns they raise is that the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality Protocol instructed residents to pre-flush their water lines prior to testing. Residents were told to run their water for about 4 minutes in advance of taking a sample, which limits the amount of time water can absorb lead and copper from pipes and fixtures prior to testing. As a result, the amounts of metals that will be found are minimized.
Yeah, dude, I can tell you, we had a quart jug, a pint jug, and a half pint jug, and it was like, okay, turn it on, count to, fill it up, let the water keep running, count to 45, put the other one under, fill it up, count to 45 again, put the little one in there. So the water ran for probably about 4 minutes total. Hey, why don't you let it all run out? And the reason they told us is because you need to let it sit there so that we can get a real accurate count of what the actual lead content and such.
It sounds like the city was trying to pass a drug test.
Dude, hey, they've been doing that all around the thing when they're opening up the fire hydrants all over the city, and they put the big signs out there like, we're maintaining our pipeline.
They're trying to make a naughty by nature video.
I wonder if they're passing that, the bill on to us, that they're taking out each one of our bills, now we can't pay for it, we're broke, but we're going to let you pay for it,
That's what this next thing is. We kind of skipped over the housing thing and we got right into the water because the water seems to be the
it's a crucial,
yeah. But that's what the next article is, the judge bringing that up, like, okay, we can go ahead and go forward on this lawsuit. And the city obviously is going to be, all right, why don't you give the background and then I'll jump in. Give the background of what the judge said.
Well, just that there's a misunderstanding by a lot of people that they were represented by the lawsuit brought against the city by, what's his name, Val Washington, I believe, is the lawyer. But there was, in fact, only 2 people represented until Monday, I believe, when Genesee Circuit Judge Archie Heyman certified a, quote, class action lawsuit. So now it includes 30,000 residents who the judge thinks were probably
and there's
screwed.
I think there's 54,000 households in the city of Flint. And so only 30,000 of them are affected. So where are the other 24 that aren't affected?
Yeah, I don't know.
The East Village, they don't get nothing bad happens to those people. The people over there off of Court Street. I'm joking, of course.
The other 24,000 just don't have water service?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of people. No kidding, guys. I mean, I live here right on the east side. It's reflected across the city. There are people who have been living for months without water. I know about 5 people offhand in this immediate area that have no water, have not had water for probably better part of a year.
Dude, it's time to go on freaking HomeDepot.com and buy one of those water things and turn that sucker back on yourself, man.
Yeah,
it's $18 on Home Depot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is outrageous. I mean, my grandfather foresaw this back in the '60s when Flint was still booming, late '60s, early '70s. He ran for city councilman in the first ward. I think he had 7 votes. He was my grandfather, but he's a nut job. Okay, I wouldn't have voted for him anyway. Right. But he did actually see out that there back then he was beefing about something the water department was doing. Everybody thought he was nuts. But everything he said, because I came across the papers when he died, after he died, and I was looking at it, and everything he was concerned about is now coming to fruition. He said they weren't replacing the water, the water supplies as they had the money. They had money back then. They could have done it. This is back there was already 50, 40, 56 years old sections of
infrastructure.
And they never, that's the city's never done that. To my understanding, it had always wait till something happened, they got a chunk of cash. They didn't take the money they had coming in and use it. And this is when the boom times, or the better economic times.
Right.
They never did that. They never, to my knowledge, they never actually, I was a kid, so there might have been places they did that, but it seemed like they were more intelligent when they actually had the money to replace it before it was a serious need.
Let's go ahead. Basically what the city's been doing since 2011 is they tacked on a 35% charge to try to balance the budget of the city.
Right.
Through its water rates.
Right. Because they can't get it because of the laws on property taxes. So that's what besides, let's face it, people are going to say, screw this.
Which was illegal.
Yeah.
And
it's very illegal.
Yeah, and so now
But
Wally was just served a petition, was he not? 26,000 people signed a petition.
I just saw him. He was training for some boxing match or something.
He's gonna beat up Chris Bird at the Federal Credit Union Center.
Go see him. My buddy Jeremy runs that place.
Yeah, it's nice. And so that's important. But in the meantime, he was served like 26,000 signatures. I think they were urging that they go back to the Detroit water. But all he really said was he's not been a proponent of that.
Okay, so allegedly, the reason why that is because he allegedly is serving on the board of the company that got the contract to build the pipeline to Huron.
Okay.
All right. I have not seen personal documents to that alleged thing, but the people that I talk to that I get my information about this stuff have informed me that that's...
Well, allegedly speaking, that sounds like a conflict of interest, but
allegedly
that might explain
because when he made that announcement, I do know that the Detroit water representative was on hand at that meeting and actually made a statement that said, "We will hook up your pipeline for free today." Yeah,
and I also saw some of that Metro Times article that they said the Detroit water is like 5 times less corrosive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like even like down in the upriver and downriver and where all that smelting crap is?
Hard to
Like the
believe.
River Rouge minute, or?
Yeah.
The River Rouge is bad. I mean, they got that island in the middle called Zeg Island because it's basically it's a chemical dump. I mean,
I
but
learned about that from Joe Rogan's
Yeah.
from Joe Rogan's TV show.
They have,
I didn't even know that thing existed.
They have
It's
a
like-
bridge that connects River Rouge with Detroit that's
Yeah.
just like permanently raised now.
Oh,
Like,
really?
you have to get on the freeway, and they join. Like they butt up against each other like Flint and Burton, but you have to like get on the freeway to get from one to the other.
Oh wow!
It just
it was the weird sound. There's some weird ass sound or something that comes off that place.
Yeah, I've heard that.
People's thing. They don't know where it's coming from.
But we're a Flint show, so screw them, screw them guys. All right, but you know, also I talked a little bit to you off air about this, Sean. Getting back to our factless sphincter balloon here.
Hey, can we add shiftless in there? Because I like shiftless. Too.
Shiftless. You
Shiftless,
can add
factless.
anything you want. You have
Shiftless,
the
factless.
shiftless, factless.
Yeah,
sphincter
you want
balloon.
the actual definition of
Of
shiftless?
shiftless? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's characterized by laziness, indolence, and lack of ambition.
I like that. Yeah, we'll let the viewer and listener figure out what a
I like
sphincter
indolent.
balloon
I was always called indolent by somebody that, my teachers. You're indolent. I look it up and say, I'll go with that. Okay.
Well, all these adjectives apply to somebody who would have the balls to say
You're going to turn
the
into
perception of poor water, the perception
yeah.
of, oh, that's awful, but
It's like, I guess the bodies are a perception. I guess the bad water, chemicals in the water, that's just a perception. It's all illusion, okay? We just everything's just illusionary. That's all it is. That's all we're dealing with is perceptions.
yeah, these aren't actually problems. You talked a little bit off the air, Sean, about your interpretation of what's really going on in the housing market.
Okay. So, we bought a house in 2008. We started looking real hard in 2007. And what we noticed is that as the market and the economy started crashing, people started freaking out like a Wall Street crash, right? So everybody started trying to sell. So they were into their house for, let's just take an example. They were into their house for 150 grand. Their house is now worth 30 grand, and I bought it. But you're still trying to sell it for 150 grand because that's how much you have to sell it for. So just because something's for sale doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it's worth.
Yeah, the asking price, you mean?
The asking price.
And I would have liked to see that in this article from Ms. Johnson. Is a little bit more statistical support from Theodoroff.
Right.
Why
So,
he's
I
saying
mean,
what he is.
It's like, all right, so you get into the whole, like, things are only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
Correct.
So, I'm getting my property taxes each year, and they're telling me how much my house is worth, even though I can't sell it for the price that they're telling me that it's worth. Same situation. It's just a bunch of word mumble jumble bullshit. The perception is that we have all of these houses that are for sale for the price that we want to get them, but the reality is the only people that are buying are people who are the investors. I mean, you're not having these people come in with, nuclear families going and finding, hey, this is our particular house we're going to raise our kids in. You don't have that. You have short sales. You have primarily investors, and that's so. Yeah, that's just that is lazy, shiftless writing.
Indeed.
I'm a person who's very pessimistic, and I always get attacked for that. People are saying, you got to look at the bright side. Well, the bright side of the thing is I always say, you find problems, you deal with them, and then you move on, so those problems are no longer biting you in the ass. But now here, we have to pretend, just like that article is indicating, that's just a perception. Well, let's see. Lead in the water is actually verifiable, demonstrable,
Right.
and you're saying that's just perception. There's body count going on right now, so perception of high crime.
Well, we're down. We're not even number one for the
No, I mean,
crime. So we're down. Are we even in the top 10 anymore?
yeah, I think we are in the top 10, but the point, too, though, is just that they're always concentrating about that. Okay, but they're saying that, they make it sound like you're just going to walk in, if you drive into the city of Flint, you're going to get blown away. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, unfortunately, stuff happens like at the bus stop a couple weeks ago,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it comes fresh back in everybody. I know that's not. Downtown, honestly, is one of the safer parts of this whole place.
Really? Because I heard the farmers market downtown was the most dangerous place on earth. That's not true?
Well, now that you think about it, now that you say it, it's right next to a major university on one side and a bus station on the other.
Yep.
Yeah, it must be.
Has all the ingredients.
It has all the ingredients.
I won't
that we
take my
need for
kids
a
there.
place.
I'll get my apples from somewhere else. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll just we'll wrap it up for this installment.
Dang, we're done already?
Yeah. But we'll get back in here soon. Good first run, I think. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sean. Stay tuned.